Hello everyone. Some of you have asked me to make a video on werewolves for quite a while, and I guess today is the perfect day to make one. Werewolves are without any doubt one of the most popular and recognizable mythical creatures out there, and we already know a lot about them, but still, I will try today to explain the origins of these creatures, some popular myths about them, and their huge impact on modern popular culture. Werewolves, also known as lycanthropes, generally refer to some human beings who have the ability to change into a wolf or a half-human, half-wolf shape, either at will or when exposed to the full moon. Usually the transformation comes with a huge boost in strength, agility, and a greatly enhanced sense of smell. However, it is often implied that most people lose their humanity right after the transformation is completed and get an urge to hunt and prey on humans. It's pretty hard to say exactly when the legends about these creatures really began, but we can guess that just like most mythical creatures out there, it comes from the innate primal fear of human beings towards certain predators, in this case, wolves. Most stories about humans transforming into wolves are actually quite common in ancient mythologies, and could be the reason why werewolves are so popular today. For example, the Roman poet Ovid tells the story of the first werewolf from Greek mythology in his first book of the Metamorphoses. The text tells the story of King Lycaon, narrated by the god Jupiter, the Roman equivalent of Zeus. In the story, Jupiter, the king of the gods, hears that humankind has become evil and thus decides to come down on Earth under the disguise of a mortal man and picks the king of Arcadia, Lycaon, whose name is derived from the Greek word for wolf, to test him. However, when he visited the palace of the king, his host served him a dish of human flesh, cooked up from the body of a hostage he had just killed. In some versions of the myth, it's the body of his own grandson that he serves to the god. Now, we have to remember that in Greek mythology, hospitality is a divine right for guests and a divine duty for the hosts. All strangers, without any exception, were under the protection of Zeus, or in this case Jupiter, and the hosts were supposed to care for them. Therefore, Lycaon here, serving human flesh to his guests, and the guest here being the king of the gods nonetheless, was a huge violation of that divine law, and of course it provoked the wrath of the god. The outraged god of lightning destroyed the king's palace with thunderbolts, and as Lycaon fled, a lightning bolt struck him and transformed him into a wolf. This is only one of the countless myths about werewolves in ancient history. Later, during the Middle Ages, stories and myths about them gained popularity all around the world, especially in Europe. The writer and cleric Gervase of Tilbury was among the first to make the connection between a person's transformation to a werewolf and the full moon. It's in his writings, the Otia Imperialia, or Recreation for an Emperor, a book that was meant to provide entertainment to the King of England, Henry the Younger, that he shares his theories and ideas about werewolves. There is also another story from the French poet Marie de France named Bisclaveret. In her work, she tells the story of a miserable baron of Brittany named Bisclaveret, who for 3 days of every week would transform into a werewolf. When the wife of the poor man learned that he needed his human clothes to turn back into his human form, she decided to ask her lover to steal them and hide them, which would trap her husband in his wolf form and thus leaving her to be with her lover without any consequences. However, Bisclaveret eventually won the trust of the king and decided to take revenge on his wife by biting off her nose, which eventually turned him back into a human. Finally, there's another very famous account in history about lycanthropy. Towards the end of the 16th century, in the town of Bedburg in Germany, there was a series of massacres and kidnappings that had shaken the local population of the normally peaceful town. The people believed that a werewolf was terrorizing their town, slaughtering their cattle, abducting and raping women, and eating their children. Later, it turned out that the werewolf was actually a certain Peter Stumpp, who was known to the people of Bedburg as a friendly widowed farmer and father of 2 young teenagers. Under torture, the man confessed that he practiced black magic from a very young age and that the devil had given him a magic belt that allowed him to turn into a wolf whenever he wanted. In the end, the execution of Peter Stumpp took place on October 31st, 1589, and became known as one of the most brutal executions in history. Stumpp was tied to a wheel where his flesh was torn from his body before being beheaded and burned on a pyre to prevent him from coming back from the dead, according to popular beliefs at the time. Today, werewolves are very present in our modern pop culture due to their representation in the media and literature, and basically all the fiction that surrounds these creatures is a very diverse genre that can range from the oldest folk legends to the modern interpretations of the werewolves as we know them today. There are now tons of movies and series that were made about them. Some were pretty good, such as the classic horror film The Wolfman, released in 1941, and even had a remake in 2010. And others were, well, different. But apart from their colossal presence in cinema, werewolves are also very popular creatures that often appear in literature, role-playing games, and of course, video games. Alright, so this concludes today's video on werewolves. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below telling me what is your favorite werewolf movie of all time. Now then, thanks again for following the channel, happy Halloween, and see you all next time.